Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the newest installment of the Art Tech series for the Blackmagic Collective. I'm John Parento. First of all, let me start off by thanking our sponsors. That would be Sigma, Cine, great lenses. You should try them if you haven't. And Blackmagic Design, who makes both of them make all of this possible, and we appreciate their support. Who I am, my name is John Parento, as I said. I am a cinematographer, a director, a filmmaker. I pretty much have done everything you can think of in the industry for my entire career: visual effects supervision, run companies in the industry. So I have a kind of a well-rounded background in filmmaking, but my passion is directing, writing, and shooting. So I guess it's still well-rounded. But anyway, a few notes before we get rolling. November 14th is our film festival. And as you know, if you've been following the Filmmaker series we've been sneak peeking a few of the films that have been a part of that. And there's a number more, and we're going to be narrowing that down to a finalist list. And then we're going to screen them, and we're going to talk with the filmmakers, and we're going to give away prizes. And the beauty of it is that if you attend, you come and watch the films and the interviews, as well as the final award ceremony. As an audience member, you have the opportunity to actually win Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. So it's not just the filmmakers getting prizes, it could be you too. So make sure to look for that on the website and our social media, and we'll keep you posted. But November 14th is the date right now. So on to today's show. We have the honor of talking to a great filmmaker named Ben Hernandez Bray. He's just like the rest of us. This is the neat thing about Ben, is that he started off in very simple beginnings, being a guy who wanted to be a filmmaker and had no really clear path to get there, meaning there was no connections to a studio executive to give him a job. He had to earn his way through, and he earned his way all the way up to being a director now on mainstream projects. Along the way, he worked as a stunt coordinator and a stunt actor on big shows like Jack Reacher and Transformers Dark of the Moon. But now he's focused more on directing. And some of his recent credits are, for example, Queen of the South, if you're familiar with that series, great series. And his feature directorial debut is called El Chicano. And I'm going to show you a bit of this right now. So here's El Chicano.
In the barrio, bad things happen when the sky turns black.
When we were kids, we were told about the legend.
Anytime you got hot in the hood, you'd hear those chopper pipes. Gangsters found God out of fear of the devil.
Who was he?
El Chicano.
The cartel killed a bunch of police officers. They're coming to plant a flag in LA and reset the game.
I've never seen anything like this. It's a war zone.
You knew this was coming.
And what was coming?
Revolution.
Bingo. Stay with me, Dave! Stay with me, man!
I was being straight with you. I have to tell you, I'm not sure what to do next.
Try doing what's good. Now, I have to do what's right. I have to become this. It's the only way to protect my city.
That look in your eye.
What do you see?
Rage.
Know thy enemy.
I run these streets.
This is all out war now. They're coming 24 hours in the damn burst.
¡Para la familia!
I am neither right nor good. I will make up the difference in blood.
El Chicano, the ghetto Grim Reaper.
That looks pretty awesome. Can't wait to see it. Let's welcome the writer-director, Ben Bray.
What's
Hey,
happening?
Ben.
Hey,
How are you?
John. How are you?
Do you go by Benjamin or just Ben? I notice everything says Ben.
Just Ben. It is Benjamin. I think the only one ever called me Benjamin was my mother was mad at me. She yelled at me. Benjamin, ben para acá. Yeah. Yeah, she
I
was
just
the one
gave you
growing up.
nightmares then when I called you Benjamin. So.
He did some bad flashbacks.
Well, so first of all, let me make a note to the viewers we have here, just that if you have questions, we're going to try to get to the questions. We can just put them into the chat function of wherever you're watching, Facebook or YouTube, and we'll get to as many as we can as we go along. So just be aware of that. But so Ben, let's talk a little bit about that. We try to avoid origin stories here with particularly the Art Tech series because, you know, sometimes it's too much about like, oh, you know, I like Picasso and I you know, I'm inspired by flowers, which is all fine, but we really want to kind of be brass tacks about filmmaking here. But your story really should resonate with a lot of people who follow the collective because there's a lot of young filmmakers involved. You know, you're doing what you did what a lot of them want to do, which is earn their way into the industry. Can you kind of give a little bit of a review of how that worked for you and how you got there?
Oh my God, what a journey that was. It was, you know, it's funny. It started off kind of really like a happy accident. I was boxing. I was training as a fighter. I had a brother who was on the U.S. Olympic team and great fighter. And I'm glad I had a great reference because I knew I wasn't that good. So I knew I had to figure something out. So I was training in the day and I was taking night classes. I was an English major and just trying to figure it out what I was going to do. And I was actually in a boxing gym training, and a stunt coordinator and a director by the name of Nigel Dick saw me hitting the bag. And actually they approached me and asked me to audition for this stunt acting part as a fighter. I think the film was called Dead Connection back in 1989. So my younger brother and I got in the ring. We put a fight together in a few minutes, auditioned right on the spot, and I got the part. And it was a Michael Madsen, Lisa Bonet film. And when I was on set, I was there for 2 weeks and just got the bug. I fell in love with it. I knew I was a huge fan of TV media and you know, going as a kind of a poor Mexican American kid in the hood, in the ghetto. It was like that was the only thing we really could afford was that small medium was to watch television all the time. It was from Chips to Ironside and all these great shows. And I guess maybe it was a subconscious thing, but I got really fortunate. And when I was on set, I met all these great stunt guys. And we called them brown guys, Mexican American stunt people that were on set. And I just started asking a million questions. How do you get in this? This is my first job. I got Taft-Hartley'd in. And I was really lucky. And some of those guys took me under their wing. Guys like Tommy Rosales, Jimmy Ortega, Toby Hogan. These are names that are very familiar in the industry. And one of the more important guys in the business that really got me started, he was the Stunts Unlimited president here in Los Angeles. That was Ron Stein. And another gentleman by the name of Steve Buckingham. There's a few of them, and Dan Bradley. But there was these guys that really just gave me an opportunity. They saw this spark and this enthusiasm to be in the business. It was a new world for me, especially coming from the neighborhood I grew up in. So it just kind of snowballed. From there, I learned to slide cars and fire burns and high falls and wire work. And knowing that this was like being an athlete, you can only do this for so long. And if you want to have longevity and last, you need to learn camera, lenses, understand what it's going to be like when you can't go through a window anymore. And it's the next generation of stunt guys and girls that you're bringing up. And so I did that. I was really fortunate, and also took some acting classes and got myself a few parts so that I could, you know, really make a living at it.
Yeah.
And once that started happening, I made the transition. I met David O. Russell on Three Kings. I was doubling Cliff Curtis, and David knew I was also training a few fighters and a few actors on the side for money. for extra income. And David was a big boxing fan, Ali fan. And Dan Bradley, who was the coordinator, said they were looking for an actor to play this specific part in Three Kings with George Clooney. And it's a scene in Three Kings where they're trying to look for Mark Wahlberg's character who's being tortured by the enemy, and it's he's in this kind of cave cavern, and there's an impact shot of both of us falling backwards, and I'm carrying all these 501 jeans. It was a fun part. Yeah.
I love that movie.
God,
That's great.
God, I was young. But David really, we just really clicked. We talked about boxing, we talked about filmmaking and stories, and I was just learning, so I was absorbing it all. And we continued our friendship after we wrapped the film in Hollywood. And while he was editing, I was training him. We were doing the mitts together and working out and doing some morning runs, and he became really my mentor, one of my mentors. And he gave me my first opportunity as a stunt coordinator on together.
You broke up there a second. On what show?
I Heart Huckabees.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, with Jude Law. And in the midst of it, he started introducing me to other directors like Spike Lee and Spike Jones, and also Gavin O'Connor and Joe Carnahan, which became, my other mentor within the industry. And I just started moving up the ranks from there.
Yeah. Well, I think that, that I get the story resonates for me, certainly in reflection to how my career started, which I think everybody can really understand is, first of all, be really open to new opportunities and ask questions. I mean, don't be annoying, but get out there and when you're on set, ask questions, meet people, be friendly, and be a sponge, because that's kind of how my career started too, as an assistant, just absorbing information, but not being annoying, and it really can carry you because you find these people who want to support you.
Yeah, most definitely. And it was like, and I had no formal training. I didn't have to go to film school, and I didn't finish college. So it was like I learned by watching, I learned by doing, and here are these people that are making a living at it. And so, like you said, like a sponge, watching and seeing everything, looking at the call sheet and understanding each department, what they did and what their responsibilities were. And man, it was a blessing. It really was.
Smart.
It was really.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it served you very well. So let's dig into a little bit about let's talk about stunts a little bit, just because you have such a background in that. And I know just looking at El Chicano alone, you dealt with stunts from a director's standpoint as well. So when you let's frame this all from the perspective of a low budget filmmaker who's trying to figure out how to do some of these things that may be a little bit beyond their experience level or potentially their budget. So what's the most important thing when you consider filming stunts? What would you give advice to a young filmmaker when they're faced with a show that has a stunt sequence in it? How do they approach that?
I think the first priority, and any will tell you this, is safety first. And I know as a filmmaker and being hungry and shooting guerrilla style, you want to get that shot. You want to have this incredible, just as much as the dialogue and the words on paper are telling a story, and just as much as the action is too. I've always believed that a fight is literally dialogue to me. So you have to approach the safety aspect of it. You always have to keep that in the back of your mind, because the worst thing can happen is you lose one of your actors. If someone gets hit in the eye or breaks a bone, then you're really in trouble, to finish the film or finish your short film or whatever you're doing, as in reference to what the media is. And so for me, safety's the first deal. And trying to see, I always tend to write things if I have $150 million. I don't, in my mind, I'm not thinking, oh, I only have $30,000 to make this short, or try to make a film out of, even if it's on an iPhone. So my mentality is always write it the way you see it and you visualize it, and then go from there and compensate. Okay, how can I do this at lowering the cost, but still get the same effect of what the storyline is and what that action piece is? And that's what I try to do.
Great. So yeah, I agree. Also the safety thing, I think most people are fairly savvy these days. You've seen so many disasters on set where people, even big budget projects, didn't really take that moment to be safe, or maybe they just let something slide that they shouldn't have, and with disastrous consequences. But is there a way to approach safety on a budget? You know, if you are faced with things like just simple fight scenes or something, are there tools or tricks that maybe aren't so expensive, but if people just thought that way, they could actually be a lot safer considering those?
Well, I think one of the things is if you can find rehearsal time, especially on the weekends, even going to a park, if it's a smaller budget, walk through the action. If it's a fight, I think the most important thing, doesn't matter if it's $100 million budget or you got 10 grand in your pocket, or 5 grand in your pocket. It's rehearsal time never changes. It's walking through punches, giving and taking, trying to sell those reactions, and because the more that you rehearse it, the more it's going to have fluidity and it's going to look organic. So that's for me. Anything that we do is in reference to for those safety precautions, even if it's a lower budget, is walking through the action. And you're so right. It's like one of the things is it's the simplest things that get you hurt. Is these simple pratfalls, or just a one take punch you have to do. Anything goes wrong. I've seen it happen over the years. But the rehearsal time is really important. I think that when you have moments when you have to shoot guerrilla style, hurry up. We've got 10 minutes and we get shot in the corner and let's get it. We'll go handheld, the whole deal. That's wonderful. But it can be really dangerous if you don't put in the time to go. Thank God on Saturday we went to the park in North Hollywood just to walk through this fight. That's it's got like 10 or 12 beats. I think that is the biggest thing. And like I said, and always adapt to, even though you want some, try to figure out what you can. It's the creative juices of a director is really challenging yourself, going, listen, I'd love to be on top of a freight container doing a big fight like we did in El Chicano, and they're hooked up on above wire with a harness. Can't do it. So let's try to bring it down to the ground and figure out some cool obstacles to give us the same effect without getting anybody in danger, just not having the money to hook somebody up safety wise.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So when you talk about, first of all, if somebody were doing a low budget film, how accessible are stunt coordinators, or even not young, but people who are stunt people who have not reached the coordinator level, meaning they're not doing that full time? Can people reach out to stunt coordinators, stunt actors to say, would you help me figure this out on I only have a few bucks, but I mean, is there an openness to that in the industry?
All the time. All the time. All the time. I think that's what's great about our community is we really are. It's like a brother and a brother. I'd say a brotherhood and a sisterhood. It's a second family, and it's we always want to encourage the next generation to strive to make that transition, because unfortunately, we all get to that age where we're getting ready to retire, and the next generation is coming up. So I'm always, especially a lot of my colleagues at ISA, International Stunt Association, we're always open to answer questions from film students at USC and UCLA and AFI. I think that's really important. I mean, I get calls now. Right now, there's I guess young. He's gonna bust my chops, but Marco Morales, who's basically coordinating his first big film, and I think it's only his second or third credit. And Joe Hernandez given us a wonderful opportunity to coordinate this film called Cop Shop. We've had our conversations. My phone is hot. You can call me whenever you want. If there's a question you have, I'm sure I can answer. And if I can't answer, I get somebody that I know that can answer it. If it has to be, integrated with rigging or setting up a car jump or a fire burn or high fall. I think it's important that you're always able to give back and be an open book for anybody that's coming up. I'm that way. Frank Torres, my stunt coordinator. That's so weird to say. My stunt coordinator, my business partner. We feel that it's really important to teach the next generation, or the guys that are just making the transition. because it is it can be very non-glamorous. There's a lot going on, not only just with the stunts, but budgets and mandates and making your budget and dealing with UPMs and producers and your actors and making sure that they're confident with you and you're able to make them all feel safe.
Great. Yeah, that's good. I was actually trying to find a still so I could at least have a visual for this. But when we were going back to safety briefly, it just popped into my mind as you were talking. I used to shoot some stunt photography and a lot of cars, things like that.
Oh, cool.
And I was going to say, there's this story. Speaking of like the simplest things that are a problem, and I can't remember the name of the stunt coordinator. This is like back in the late '80s or something like that. So it's been a while, but. Really good guy. We did a lot of great stuff, and we had this one shot where there's a van going ahead on this country road, and a Mercedes is supposed to come behind it and kind of ram into it. And the shot that they wanted was chasing them, so chasing the car and then craning up over to see the contact, because that was significant about taking the contact. And so I was on a crane on a camera truck on a country road, and the idea was, we'll go kind of slow and, we'll just do this and we can speed it up a little in post or something like that. Well, the van driver, the camera car driver, and the Mercedes driver, none of them really knew who was driving the speed. And so the van started going a little faster and the Mercedes started going a little faster. So the van went faster thinking he was getting too close. Basically, I'm flying down this country road on the end of a crane, bouncing up and down, trying to hold on.
Wow.
And just because there's that one little thing. Everything else was perfectly coordinated, but that one little, like, who sets the speed? And it didn't, So it's the simple thing. That was a USA film, it happens.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. And sometimes it'll be where you've had your safety meeting before everybody gets in their vehicles, and you've talked about, you've done a couple of dry runs beforehand to figure out, okay, we'll say 25. And for whatever reason, you'll get in the vehicle, and I've been there. It's like, okay, hey Mitch, are you at 25? It looks like you're. I'm not sure, but you got to let me know. And all of a sudden, radio, you can't hear anything, and all of a sudden you're trying to guess it, and it's tough to board. I've been in those situations, man. It's crazy. It's it's a dangerous occupation. It takes a very kind of unusual, different type of personality to do that for a living. I know. I look back some of the things I did, I'm like, I can't believe I did. My wife says, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe I did it either. I was like,
They're
we do it now. They're great stories. They're great stories.
So getting back to the a young filmmaker or a smaller budget project trying to find a person, how would they reach out to find somebody to help them, guide them on, maybe just guide them on a stunt sequence, or give them some advice, or even go as far as hiring them to coordinate a sequence? Is there a place they can reach out to, or where would you recommend how do they get somebody?
There's a few organizations. We have these stunt groups, which I think is one of the easiest things to do. Stunts Unlimited, which is in Los Angeles. International Stunt Association, which is we're in Sherman Oaks now. We're right off of Van Nuys Boulevard in Ventura. I don't know what the Stuntmen's Association is. I think they're in Studio City, but it's always great to call those guys and reach out, because there's younger members in the group that are always looking for young directors that are coming up, or new or up and coming stuntmen they can connect with, and they can always drop off a picture and a resume, or even make a phone call, and definitely someone will get back to them. They're even, and if you go to the websites, you just Google those websites again for International Stunt Association, Stuntmen's Association, International Stunt Association, got it all associations, Brand X, and Stunts Unlimited. They on the websites they'll have an email, and it's always great to reach out. The secretary will reach out to figure out somebody, one of the members that they can keep in contact with. Get in contact with and ask any questions they have, or see if there's anything they can help them with. I remember when I started coordinating, I did a few AFI films, and I think I did 2 films from USC, which were great because even as students coming in with a little bit more experience, you're still learning. You're always learning something new.
Yeah.
So it's great. That would be the best way to do that.
Let's jump into a question real quick. Joe B is asking, I can pop this up on set. He says he's an action performer, would like to get into wire work, rigging, and also motion capture. What's the best way for a performer to get picked for those type of specifics?
The best way to do is Joe, if you have a resume set up with all your special skills and your headshot, is again to drop it off at each one of those organizations that you can find online, and you can either submit it through an email or drop it off in person to the offices and tell them what you're looking for. And it's all about look too. So that's a great thing. He's got a great look, actually.
Yeah. I'm gonna real quick. You said, let me just help this real quick. You said Stunts Unlimited, right? Is one.
Stunts Unlimited, which I think they're in Los Angeles.
I just put a link up on the chat for everybody for that. What's one of the other ones?
Okay. The other one, International Stunt Association. I'm an honorary member there now, and that's in Sherman Oaks.
Okay, that's ISA Stunts. So I'll put
ISA
here.
Stunts.
There we go. Okay.
And
great.
And Stuntmen's Association, which I think they're in Studio City.
Let's look that up. It's like we're doing this live. People are watching us Google. All for the greater good. So here we go. Okay, there we got all three of them there now. Okay, so let's jump forward a little bit on shooting the stunt scene. So let's say you have a fight scene, two people fighting. How, and this is good because it starts segueing us into your directing, because you had to understand this as a stunt coordinator, but then as a director, you really have to understand it. How do you approach choreographing that and shooting that, the angles that you choose to shoot a fight sequence that are most effective? I know these are like big questions. Oh, how much time do you have?
You know what? I try to keep things as simple as possible. In reference to like setting up the shots and what's going to sell for camera and what we're trying to accomplish, it's adapting obviously what's in the story and what I'm trying to tell. Again, like we talked about, I really think any action piece, anything you put together is telling its own story also. And the great thing about technology today is everybody's shooting what's called previs, which I'm sure you know what those are. And so we have a lot of these young stunt guys. I wish I was one of them. I think I was right at the tail end of my career when that really was a big thing. But now this younger generation are literally taking, Blackmagic cameras or iPhones and shooting, cutting, editing, doing After Effects. And so what we're doing is we're giving responsibility to the stunt coordinators to come and go, look, this is my idea. This is how I've written in the narrative what I want to happen. This guy walks into a room, grabs a hold of him, lifts him up over the head, takes him into a table. He gets up. He thinks he's knocked him out. He comes right, he creeps around. Oh my God! He reveals him. He's not there. He's now behind him. He's got him by the neck. So I walk through all these pieces, understanding like what the tone is, how big of the violence, how detrimental do I want the violence to be with whether it be the antagonist, with the protagonist, and we talk about it. We walk through in this production meeting of what I want. And so he'll take all those notes, get a group of the stunt guys together, and they'll start piecing together a sequence for me. And I mean, it's incredible. They'll literally shoot in the afternoon, and by the evening, I've got an edited version with a little bit of music in the background, some After Effects, and I'm like, amazing. And then I'll just add a few notes that I think, hey, let's stay on this one shot, a couple beats longer, and then we're good. But that's as a director, that's how I approach now. It's a great thing. So you're always again going back to rehearsing, and putting these things together.
Yeah, those things, I see those all the time. The previous, like you said, but it just makes so much sense. I mean, Game of Thrones, if you look at the BTS for that, they did a ton of that. I was on a bunch of the Marvel TV shows that all did that kind of thing, because especially when you are on a budget, and in that case, it's a TV budget, meaning they have a lot of money in their own respect, but they still have tight And so the more you can do and work out ahead of time, you're already figuring out the angles, and it's just a matter of placing the camera and going. Everybody's on the same page already if they have looked at that previous. So that's really good.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge thing. I now do a thing. When I first started directing, I was still, and I should say, I think people are still in the book. They have, and I do. I do have my 60-page script, whatever TV series I'm on, as a backup. But everything is on my iPad. It's just an amazing thing. And now, for me, for the fact I don't do previs, obviously, because now I'm directing, but I have a storyboard app that I have, and you'll literally go on location, and there's still this kind of feeling where like you're explaining to everybody in the room as you walk into a tech scout. I want her to walk through these doors, the main actress, and she's going to sit down right here to this. No, not the chair on the right, the chair on the left. And he comes to the window, and you're finding it. And then all of a sudden, this app that I have, I can literally take pictures on the spot and add people in within minutes. And then I just turn around. I show everybody from the grip department, DPs, and they're like, oh, okay. Now I get it. Now I know what you want. I'm trying to explain it to you.
What's the name of the app now? We got to put that up too.
Okay. Let me go through my phone here, and I'll. It's called Storyboard Quick.
Storyboard Quick.
It's called Storyboard Quick, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but like that's me sitting there in the black shirt, and I just added a few characters that I'm looking at.
I think I'm putting up the right.
Yeah, let me see if I here. I'll show you here it is. Storyboard Quick. It is an amazing.
There's a storyboard studio too, so there's a bunch of different options, so people can look that up now. At least.
Yeah. This one's fantastic. You can go from a 3-shot to a 2-hander, and it's just. And I'll board. What I'll do is I'll board especially if it's. Which everybody loves those good old dinner scenes, right? With 12 people at a table. Yay.
How you cover
it? Yeah. So I'll do some rough boards, and I go, look, here's our 20 mil wide, and let's see if we can do a swingle here. So I'll go through that stuff. You're Abe Martinez, right? Abe loves that stuff. So I'll just go through, and I do it with everybody. And it's kind of amazing. A lot of people still don't do it. If any advice I can give for young directors coming into television too, it's like prep. And one of the things is if you can stay ahead of the game during your 7 or 8 day prep that you have, use every and any tool you can till you find the one that kind of, that you really adapt to, that you flow with, because all that stuff really helps every department from UPM to DP. It's a great thing, and it just reassures everybody's on the same page, because you're right. It's true. It's like, yeah, they got money, but we don't got a lot of time. And now with COVID happening, 12-hour days are going away. Some shows like S.W.A.T that I'm working on, they're down to 8 hours a day. And I'm going back to Queen of the South on Sunday. And right now I'm here in 9 days, 9-hour days. Sorry.
Yeah. What happened? Where does this industry go to? Where are those 20-hour days we came to love?
Right. Remember those 16, 18-hour days? And no, man, they're gone.
Okay, so you were talking a little bit about lenses. Let's talk about that a little, because this is going to be this is the basic 101 version of stunt shooting. So you don't want to shoot if 2 guys are punching each other, one guy's punching another guy. You don't want to shoot a 2-shot profile, right? Them facing each other. You're not ideals.
Not ideal. Won't work. You can over the shoulders, and you always want to, when you're throwing punches, to always aim for across the eyes, because it's inevitable that you're going to drop a little bit, which is still good, because you're looks like you're aiming towards the nose and the mouth on impact. So it's an OS over the shoulders. You got a guy behind you, and your main actor is right here front, and you're shooting right over the shoulder and just coming from right to left, if that makes any sense, to sell those punches. There are times you can be in a profile shot, but it's still a little tough. I still aim it off when you're doing like these headbutts, when you're coming in, as long as the person that's giving the hit is closer to camera when you're taking the hit, because then you can bury the other guy, and it's really fast. But I would still try to pitch it over a bit 3/4. It's a little tough.
Yeah. So lens selection, would you obviously want to be on a longer lens if you can? That allows you, if let's say it's the punch, it allows the actors to be a little further apart, so there's less chance of error.
Yes.
Do you have a idea of lenses you choose for that, length of lenses?
You know, it varies. It varies. I'll go, I'll go anywhere from, it's dependent on, I think I'm anywhere from a 50 to a 120, it just depends on the long lens that I like to use. And it's dependent on what the action is. Like in that Brad Pitt film, help me out with this one, John. It's a fight.
The
used
Brad
a
Pitt
lot
film?
of long lens. The Brad Pitt film, a Fight Club. They used a
Fight
lot
Club.
of long.
You said fight. You've gotten that.
I know, I got that part. Fight Club. They did a lot of long lens, and I think it's great. Change it up, and a lot of guys are changing this. The long lens is your safety. I'll stay between 80 and 120, but I really like to get inside if I can, and be handheld or on an easy rig.
Mhm.
There's something kind of erratic, and there's fluidity there. And what I'll do is I'll do kind of a shutter speed, to change it up a bit. There's this kind of staccato movement that I really dig. There's something, there's some realism, there's some authenticity to it that I feel. There's kind of I really dig.
I mean, you're always trying to essentially hide that it's not a real fight, and you're describing tools in my mind as a DP too that would, they enhance the energy of the scene, but also find ways to hide things. So the tighter shutter angles, so that you get less motion blur, you're getting that staccato thing you're talking about. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
But it's also
Yes.
the fifth is jumping. It's not smeared between here, so you see every moment of it jumps, and so it makes it feel more impacty, even though it's probably less impacty. And then similarly with the easy rig, you're moving the camera around. Do you really feel always keep the camera moving in a fight scene so that it's the energy?
I do. It keeps the energy up, and it keeps the audience very subjective, like they're in it with them. I think the movability is really great, to always kind of wrap around and take the impact shot and come back to the actor. I think for me is my go-to all the time. I really dig that. There's some moments that, everybody will have their opinion. I've been in meetings with executives that have loved things that I've done, and but they want to see more of these kind of wide angle shots, and just try to keep everything in the frame and keep it a oneer. I think there's a reason behind, dependent on the story, when it should be used. I just believe in the fluidity of constantly keeping the camera moving in an action sequence, especially a fight, is really important. I think it keeps it much more subjective.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. And
cool.
My opinion matters right now.
It does.
Let's talk about El Chicano. Tell us how that started. How did you, obviously your first feature, you don't have to mention budget, but was it a reasonable budget, or was it tight and you had to be creative, or tell me where that came from?
All the above you just said right there, buddy. It was I've been in it for 30 years, and I've been really so blessed and so fortunate to be around people like Joe Carnahan, I'm going to name drop, David O. Russell, Ed Zwick, Norman Jewison. I've really been really fortunate, and for everybody out there that's young filmmakers, you think you know it all, and you don't until you're in it. You're really you're in it. You're constantly learning and adapting to things, and I really believe once you stop, you're in trouble. You're really in trouble. And with EC, I have to say I'm so proud of the film. Good, Bad, Ugly. It was a great learning experience. It was really my film school. Because we fought. The studios were really interested in the film. Unfortunately, I wanted to keep it an all-that cast, and there was you know, again, unfortunately, there was some execs and some studios that wanted me kind of mix the characters up with Caucasians, and it just, this film was really based on my life story and where I grew up, and everybody that was involved was majority was Mexican American. So we decided, and Joe really backed me up and decided, let's go private financing. And so we found these gas and oil guys in Calgary who really loved the script. Lorenzo Di Bonaventura was on board. Really loved the script also. I had written the original, God, almost 10 years ago. And then I did a rewrite in New York for about 4 weeks. And then I came back with Joe, who's just a seasoned writer. And, you know, both of us together, we came up with this incredible, beautiful story. And we had, at first, the budget was $6 million. Now, when you look at IMDb, it says 8. I don't know where they came up with 8. It was, but we never had the 6. It was, when you go with private financing, you know, unfortunately, the reality is that, you know, you have investors that are dropping out during the process of prep or during filming. I mean, there were times when I was literally in the middle of prep, and I think even a few times when I was shooting, going to meetings on a Friday night or Saturday morning, or I actually even think even during, if we had I think the majority of them, we were going out pitching to try to find more money in the middle of filming. Majority of the time in the middle of prep, we fought the good fight, and in the end, they ran out of money. And what the ending that you see is not the ending in the film, not the actual in the script. I pieced that together with our editor as best we could, and you know, also with Joe's guidance. And I forked that out on a credit card and it was reimbursed later on. It was crazy. We just, you know, the reality of independent financing is tough, and I think what's tough too is, like, if you're as a young director, always be prepared for the worst. You know, you could sit here and I could have one of my closest friends, Joe, tell me, hey, we got $6 million ready to do this thing. It's going to be amazing. And people drop out. And if you're not ready for that, if you just lean on that 100% and think, you know, it's going to be fine. You know, we're going to prep in 12 weeks. We're going to shoot for another 28 days. We're going to have $6 million all in the bank, ready to go. Don't be ready for that. Be ready for the worst. Be ready. Okay, the what ifs. Write them down. Bring notes. Yeah. What if it's down to 3? What if we're losing locations left and right all the time? And it was tough. It was tough, but I tell you, it's gotten me ready. That'll never happen again in my career. I'll tell you that much. In my next film, and I adapt everything now to television. You know, always ready to have your second and third options. You know, if we can't get that bar scene, or the actress, or maybe the studio comes back and goes, we really don't dig that. We decided to go from the bar scene to a parking lot with 2 cars. Okay, sure, no problem. Let's figure it out. You know, and I think I learned a tremendous amount in that film. But yeah, we sorry to ramble on, but yeah, we it says 8. It says it was 8. It was 6, but I never saw the 6. It was just 100 here, 50 there, 75 there. Yeah, it was.
It's nice that you tell.
Beautiful mess.
Yeah, you tell the story. You know, it's a $6 million budget. Could be $600,000. Could be $60,000. All those things you dealt with will happen to anybody who's at that level of getting independent financing, and not. You know, there's almost no guarantees, no matter what level you're at, unless. I mean, I would say even when you have $150 million, if you aren't prepared, you could lose that opportunity as well. But in this small budget thing, those are things that's smart to be prepared constantly for change, be adaptable, because if you lose a location or you can't afford suddenly a location or you lose some financing, you need to be able to say, okay, yeah, let's do it over here, you know, instead. And that's that prep you said in your mind, getting ready for anything.
Exactly. And you know, that's a key word on that. That's a great word to remember. Be adaptable. You should put that. I should have wore that. I should have made a T-shirt of that when I was on set. Be adaptable at all times. I think what happens is, especially when you're doing some friends and family, and there's a kind of a bit of a security blanket, you're thinking it's going to be fine. You know, it's like you've had people in your career, at least in my career, and anybody else as they come up, where they've said they would do something, they do it. Joe's been that way with me, Carnahan, David O. Russell's been that way, Ron Stein. And then, you know, there's hiccups, there's real life. And this one particular, you know, time on this film, I found myself a bit too much of a security blanket and thinking it's going to be great, it's going to be fine. And it wasn't. It was a challenge. You know, you have to be adaptable when the money's not there, when you lose locations, you don't get the actors that you want. As much as I love Calgary and the people, it wasn't where I really wanted to be. I wanted to be in East LA. We shot, 23 days in Calgary, which everybody was amazing and wonderful. But the story takes place in East LA, and we only did 5 days exteriors out there.
Nobody
still got it done.
Set. Come on. That's right. It's magic.
That's right. Movie magic. But for me, and you adapt. You adapt. It's all good. There were certain things that I was prepared for, and then there was others where, and like we go back to prepping, just have your shot list, you have your two different options, and be adaptable at all times. You have to
talk about that also. On a tighter budget like that, where you need to be, do you cover the scene with masters first, just in case that's all you end up having time to do is the two shot or the group shot? How do you protect yourself like that? Yeah, because a lot of bigger budget people will say, "Oh, I prefer to get the close-ups first because it's better performance or whatever." But the truth of the matter is, if you can't do coverage and you only got one angle and you run out of time or light, you're screwed.
Always, yeah, and to me, those could be some of the, of course on television it's different, and but on a film that's yours, you're creating, I think visually, I love these beautiful wides. I love these wide 14 mil, 18 mil wides where, you have these people talking, you're out from a distance. I think there's something very intriguing, interesting to see that, instead of, there's just moments where you do TV and you're like, I'm in this beautiful wide with with four talking heads, and it's like, I just want to stay here and play the whole scene right there. It's so cool. It's kind of a Michael Mann type moment. It's like, it's just right there. That's it. It's all I need. But obviously for television, you got to go in coverage. But yeah, priority is always the wide. Yeah, always.
So tell me first of all, tell me where you're going next with your feature film directing. You did El Chicano. Is that out yet, by the way?
EC, yeah, it came out this past year.
Yeah.
So it kind of came out. Yeah, it did its deal. It got a cool cult following, so it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
Where can we find it right now?
Right now, you can find it. It's on Apple. It's on Apple Film or iTunes. It's also on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and I think it's on Hulu now. And great. I think it's coming up to Disney also. I think Disney had a piece of it also, which was nice. Yeah, it's great. Now it's I'm in the middle of, I just finished a script with a fantastic actor by the name of Richard Cabral, who's one of the lead actors on The Mayans. And it's really about his life story as a kid growing up in East Los Angeles, all the trial and tribulations. This was a guy he was going to spend life in jail for attempted murder, and he worked his way through the system, and he got another opportunity and was going through the Homeboys organization with Father G in Los Angeles, and got a second chance and rehabilitated himself. Next thing you know, he was on an American Crime Story and was nominated for an Emmy. 3 years prior, he was in Tehachapi State Prison. Wow. So talk about dreams. Yeah. And he's just a beautiful human being. And we've been spending a lot of time together the last 3 months, and our lives are very similar, and where we grew up and what we dealt with our families, and what all the obstacles we had in the neighborhoods. And So we wrote this beautiful kind of coming of age story about a young, Latino kid who's a gifted poet and really has the opportunity to think outside the box, have a future if he wants one as a writer. But he's dealing with all these obstacles and the pure pressure of growing up in the barrio. And
That's
so,
great.
right, yeah, it's at we're really excited. Right now it's at Disney and at Screen Gems and at Sony, and so we're in talks. So we're excited about that. And then I'm in the midst of writing an idea. Two things right now. I'm in the middle of two projects. One, I've always wanted to do a boxing film that's related to my brother. My brother, unfortunately, he was on the U.S. Olympic team with Oscar De La Hoya. He's been diagnosed with CTE, so it's been really tough for him to adapt. And so this story is kind of a tribute to him. And then I'm also writing another film that's stunt related. All the trial and tribulations that I went through, and in the business, and really a really kind of grounded story about the stuntmen and women. What happens? What happens when they're at that age, when they don't make the transition, stunt coordinating or second unit directing, and they just want to be soldiers, like they're pro athletes, right? So a ball player eventually becomes a designated hitter or a runner, and if they join the front office or coaching minor league ball, if that's what they want to do, but what happens to them? And it's a tough situation to be in,
So do you feel that with El Chicano that it opened doors for you? Do you feel that was, because I often preach that, I work with a lot of companies. They're like, we want to be filmmakers. Like, well, then make a small film, because you make one and then maybe you can make another, because you're proving the concept that you can make films. None of them they don't all have to be brilliant. But the fact that you put a film together that was competent and shows you know what to do will in its own serve to, but if the film's good, that'll even be better. But how has El Chicano worked for you in terms of getting you further in the industry?
John, you said it. That's exactly what it is. It's for first of all, with El Chicano, it put me on the map. It's opened the door up to several meetings and several pitches and several ideas, to sit down and actually have gotten it's been incredible to sit here and go, wow, there's another, it used to be they would drop off scripts. Now they mail them to you. So, the first year that it came out, I mean, there's been scripts being sent to me from almost every studio,
Great.
Good or bad, they're okay, but it's nice to be wanted, and just to be able to look at these and go, hey, you're in the running for this, or I'm sorry?
You're getting scripts. That's the first battle.
I'm getting scripts. That's
Yeah.
the first battle. Exactly. And then also the opportunity, if you do something on your own, it gives you a chance to also be creative and write ideas down. And if you're not a hardcore writer, the fact that you can write a title and a theme and a synopsis and a log line and be able to have somebody come in who's a seasoned writer help you is another option. Because when you take initiative, like you said, John, to direct a short film or a small film on a small budget, the fact that they see you're competent, that you can tell a story, that you can work with actors is a huge thing. It definitely opens up doors.
Great.
Most definitely.
We are almost out of time, so I'm going to ask you one last question. Well, again, it could be multiple, or multiple answers. What tips would you give? What would be your number one or number two, one and two suggestions for young filmmakers to kind of get ahead in their career as directors and filmmakers, just like you did?
It's God. There's quite a few, but I'm gonna simplify. Do three things that are big. Watch your favorite films that you think that your genre is, whether it's horror, action, drama, comedy. And I can't think of, Larry Blanford is a well-known second unit DP who worked a lot with Michael Bay's company. And Larry would tell me all the time, it's like, just watch movies, watch movies, watch movies. And what I learned also is not only watching movies, it's like, because you could critique them as an audience member, but also as now you put yourself in a mindset as a director. Oh, I love that. Oh, maybe if you would have pushed in a little bit, you'll start to analyze things, which are really great. Whether it be the TV medium, because it's amazing now with Netflix and Amazon and everything, but also watch features, and then force yourself. That's number one. Number two, force yourself to watch things that you would never watch. Watch a French film. Watch, the film that really inspired me, and I have it up here, that David gave me, was a movie called Los Olvidados by Luis Buñuel. It sparked something in me to go like, I think I could really do this, you know? And it was a big thing for me. I think number two is just watch films that you would never think you'd watch. A European film, your subtitles. I mean, another one that was introduced to me, God, in the early 90s, was a New Zealand film called Once Were Warriors. That just blew me away, that film. It was the realism and the viscerality of it, just kind of, it's up to you. And sometimes you can't explain it. It's just within yourself. So those are the two things. And the third thing for me, which was always a huge issue, especially coming from the neighborhood I grew up in. I was a stunt guy, and, you know, couple shots of whiskey and, you know, working out and hitting the ground, and, you know, educate your mind, read everything, anything. It's like you, John, if you have there's a book that you think that just really sparked your imagination, read that book. You know, read all the greats, read, from like talked about, from Scorsese to Tarantino to, you know, a poet, any of your favorite writers. Just continue to read anything that's adaptable towards what you want to do. I think that's really important, because you will be doing a lot as a director, whether it's feature or television. Especially with television, you're going to be reading a lot, and you'll get revised pages and things you have to change on the fly. You really have to self-educate yourself big time.
That makes
so those
sense.
are my three things.
That's good. Watching things that are out of your comfort zone is great, because you want to expand your mind beyond just what you like. You want to, if people say this is a really amazing film, but you're like, it's not really what I'd like, see why it's amazing. Go watch it and ask yourself, why did they think it's amazing? And if you get it. The other thing is watching films and seeing if you understand why it works. Like this is a really tense scene. Why is it intense? You know, watch it once and watch it again and say, can I understand why it's in it? Because you want to be able to have the skills to rebuild that on your project later or something like that. So
totally,
it's the same. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Well, Ben, you've been amazing, and we thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing your future adventures, and we'll make sure to watch Queen of the South. I'll make sure to watch for your episodes, particularly.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Episodes 1 and 2. And listen, I'm very honored and privileged to be part of this, John. Thank you so much for reaching out. It was great to be a part of this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben. So that's the Blackmagic Collective Art Tech series. It's so weird where I'm looking, because I want to look there, but it looks odd. Anyway, don't forget the Film Fest is coming up on the 14th. And we look forward to seeing you there. You'll be able to register for free for that. And remember, you can win your own camera as well, even as an audience member. And thank you again to Sigma and Blackmagic Design as our sponsors. They make all this possible. And I guess we'll see you next time with the collective. Have a good afternoon.